Good afternoon. Hello. Can you all hear me okay? We will not have interpretation at this event. However, I've been told that if you put the headphones on, you might be able to hear a little better just because of all the background noise. Does that work? Is it working? So if you'd like, you can use the headphones and you'll hear in English. English only, no Spanish. Apologies. Um, but I just wanted to say a quick word of welcome. My name is Samuel Carter. I'm the founder and principal of Resilient Cities Catalyst, and we serve as the secretariat for the Mediterranean Climate Action Partnership. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But we wanted to open with a video that was produced by our partners in Catalonia, just to give you an overview and a sense of the partnership and the work that we're doing. So we can start with the video. Thank you. Yeah, we're very excited to be here at COP30. And before I talk a little bit more about the work we've been doing over the last 2 years, I wanted to plug an event that's happening on the 18th. At what time on the 18th? 1:15, 13:15. We have an official side event in room 5, larger plenary, and I encourage you guys to come and hear more about our model for bioregional collaboration. And we'll have a whole other set of speakers. So just want to encourage you to put that on your agenda if you'll be here next Tuesday. We did launch MCAP in Dubai at COP28. And we launched it with a set of founding partners. And this partnership was really built up with leadership from the state of California and Secretary Wade Crowfoot and the government of Catalonia, represented here by Sonsoles, who you'll hear from in a little bit. But there was a recognition that there was a common set of challenges experienced by regions with a Mediterranean climate. And when we say Mediterranean climate, we don't just mean the Mediterranean basin, which is the area of North Africa, the Middle East, Southern Europe, but we mean the actual climate designation of a Mediterranean region. So that includes regions in Chile, South Africa, Australia, California, Mexico. And we felt it was important to create a space not just for dialogue to happen and for information to be exchanged, but to actually experiment and test out solutions together. And that's why the word A in the partnership is so important, the action. We've built this entire partnership from the ground up to encourage governments and their partners to take action in the face of climate impacts. In some ways, MCAP was born out of a frustration at the pace with which pilots were happening, projects were getting done, and it was fashioned by leaders of these regional governments who all need help to do their everyday job. They all need help to actually deliver impact for the communities they serve. So we structured a partnership that would meet head on the shared challenges that were identified by the 16 regional governments, including drought, extreme heat, wildfires, severe storms, the economic and social vulnerability that exacerbates the impacts of these challenges, biodiversity loss. And we built the partnership around a set of shared priorities, including the need to navigate the complexity of implementation, real need for urgency. One critical thing about this partnership, it is not national partners, it is subnational governments. And that could mean a regional government like Catalonia, it could mean a state like California, it could mean a metropolitan area like Santiago de Chile. But we chose this, and this need came from regional government partners because they have to do the implementation. They have to actually build the things and operate the things that are going to mitigate against future impacts. And so we wanted to build a partnership that would support them directly where they are and not focus as much on the national scale policy. So our priorities that we came and set for our 3-year action agenda are accelerating action and policy, advancing learning, and elevating awareness about the unique challenges that Mediterranean regions face. So we're 18 months into a 3-year action agenda. If you go to medclimate.org, you can see our full action agenda with progress updates. And we have a special COP30 page that has lots of great information about the different types of projects and partnerships we've been piloting. So I think I'll leave that there. We'll talk more about the partnership with the panel. But I would like to invite our 3 panelists up. And Sonsoles, please. Sonsoles with the government of Catalonia. Who else do we have? Yes, Kim from New South Wales. Thank you, Kim. And then Asha Peterson from Western Cape government in South Africa. Please just come and take a seat, and I'll transition over there too. Check, check. Yes, so we are recording this, so make sure we use the microphone. But also, it's so noisy. If you don't use the microphone, no one will be able to hear you. So thank you very much for your cooperation here. It's a real treat to be here with these folks because we're such close partners, but so much of our work is done on Zoom or Teams or Google Meet. And to actually be together in person with 3 MCAP member regions is really exciting. And to meet some people for the first time who are representing their governments. But I will say I've personally been a part of many different global partnerships. I have a background in philanthropy. I was at the Rockefeller Foundation for a long time. You spend a lot of time building global partnerships. It's just kind of like what you do when you're in this work. And this is the first one where we've seen, at a very deep level, governments investing their staff and technical resources in very tangible ways to really support each other. One of the things that we've done is establish work groups that have very deep technical expertise represented across all the MCAP member regions. And so this means the fire people are talking to the fire people and the water people are talking to the water people in a very uncoordinated sometimes way, just because we're building these relationships and we're making these connections. So I just wanted to thank all 3 of you before we get into this, because I know how much leadership it takes to unlock those government resources and to actually give permission for your technical teams to collaborate. Because oftentimes it's not seen as part of the core job of being a government employee to do this international collaboration. But because of the leadership of these 3 people here, we are getting so much further. So I just wanted to take this moment to thank you up front. So thank you guys so much. But what we wanted to do to kick off the panel was to invite each of the representatives from the region to tell you a little bit about what their challenges are and how they're approaching the work of managing climate impacts and building resilience in the face of uncertainty. So Sansoles, since you're here, we'll start with you. What's going on in Catalonia? What are your challenges and what are you working on?
You know, first of all, I'm very happy to be here because Catalonia, we feel very...
Speak up a little bit. No, just speak loud.
Okay, now? Better? Okay. Then first of all, we are very happy of being part of NCAP, and for us it's a wonderful alliance and very friendly alliance too. So yes, Catalonia, we have several climate hazards because we are very worried about the same climate hazards of most Mediterranean regions. For example, in Catalonia we have had several droughts during the last 10 years. And our citizens are very worried about it, and maybe droughts are the most important worry regarding climate change. But another climate hazard that worries us so much are heat waves. The last 3 years we have experienced a growing number of episodes, and of course forest fires are also one of the threats that keep the rural population most on alert during the summer, because last summer in Catalonia 9,500 hectares of forests were burned, and these are our climate hazards that maybe citizens of Catalonia, they are worried the most.
Can you hear me okay? Just checking.
Yes. Kim from New South Wales. Speak into the microphone.
Okay, got it. Thank you. And I wanted to start by saying thank you to Sam and the MCAP team, because, I mean, from my perspective, it's the reason why we're all here today in Belém. Climate and adaptation is a challenge for all of us, and sharing knowledge is a really important way that we need to deliver it. We can never do it alone. And us in New South Wales doing our own thing isn't going to help anyone. We need to work together and learn from each other. So I think these groups are really important to share new learnings so we can learn from each other and all do better. In New South Wales, we've got climate change targets of 50% by 2030, 70% by 2035. We're not quite on track yet. We're a little below, about 46% by 2030, so still more to do. But in the adaptation space, we've also had an adaptation action plan and a strategy. There's, I think, 46 actions at the moment, but there's so much to do. I think that at the moment with climate change generally, we're finding a lot of government agencies are sort of looking at the climate change team and expecting the climate change team to deliver it. So we're in a bit of a mindset challenge at the moment to get every agency to own delivering climate change. In adaptation though, our 46 actions actually are spread across our 8 major agencies. So adaptation, I think, is being picked up quicker in terms of mindset by the agencies across government than general climate change is, which is kind of strange, but I think because all of them are seeing the very direct impacts of worse bushfires, worse floods, heat waves, like so many impacts. And some of the recent work we've done is developing our own climate modelling, and it's across Australia as well, but we've developed it in New South Wales. We call it NARCLIM 2.0 as the latest version. It actually models what we think will happen from a climate perspective in terms of temperatures, the extremes of how many extra hot days over 35 degrees, how many extra cold days, or how many less cold days, I should say, how sea levels will rise, what the impacts will be, and it goes down to a 4-kilometre sort of area. So everyone in the country can look and get an idea of what's going to happen in their area out to 2090. And that's really painting a picture that's a little frightening for a lot of people. But it's giving us sort of more, I guess, to work with, to bring people on board, to take more action. and lead that forward. I mean, well, I think we'll talk a bit later about our bushfires in 2019, which were terrible as well. So we're all seeing these escalating levels, and I think adaptation is really hard, which is why these partnerships are just so important.
Yeah, thank you. Over
Thank
to
you.
Western Cape,
Thank-
Ashia. Yeah.
Thank you for this opportunity, and it's really great being part of the partnership, and definitely having hosted in May. The partnership was really a wonderful experience to be able to host everybody in the Western Cape and show everybody around in our rich area of biodiversity, and I'm sure you guys enjoyed a variety of wine we had to share. But just from our side, one of the big challenges. One of the big challenges in the Western Cape for us is, of course, we are a summer rainfall region, and as a result, we require water storage, and we depend mostly on surface water storage. And our population, 75% of them are based in the metro, and there's a competition in terms of the urban area and agricultural area for water. So with us, with the drought, we had a major drought that lasted in about 7 areas, and that was in 2015 to 2018. And at that stage, our dams were reaching its lowest level. So we actually planned for day zero, where we had emergency plan in place to provide water to the communities and many other interventions. But in terms of, so that was a fire and the drought, and of course the other major challenge for us is fires. And because of our natural fynbos, it requires fire as one of its mechanisms in terms of improving its biodiversity and accelerating growth. So for us, the major impact had really been that we had agriculture in some cases that only was allocated 13% of the water allocation. So farmers literally had to choose in terms of which block they would provide water for. And the impact was that many perennial crops and orchards were completely destroyed. So in terms of adaptation and interventions that we've had, we had infrastructure in infrastructure, we've had ecological infrastructure investments, and then of course we had technology in Fruit Loop technology, which is satellite remote sensing data that manages water scheduling. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so interesting, and it's always remarkable. And I heard it in each of the stories that you just shared, how when pressure gets put on our social systems, like day zero, like these bushfires that happen, it creates a moment where people can come together and work across agencies, but it can also have the impact of re-siloing and kind of keeping everyone in line. And I was really struck at how, Kim, you said adaptation feels a little bit easier than the mitigation agenda in some ways. So maybe when we come back, I'm curious if you have thoughts on kind of why that is.
I'd say it's harder to deliver, but easier to get everyone's mind around it and to work together.
Yeah, they're very interesting. For the next question, I'm curious, because you all spoke to some specific things that you guys have been working on. How do you connect the work you're trying to do in your community, in your region? Like, how do you see that as being advanced through participating in partnerships like MCAP? And how does that allow for you to kind of connect and learn about new ideas and new things that others are doing that face similar challenges? And how do you think about scaling the impact of what you're doing so that it can be replicable in other places? And how do you think about partnerships like MCAP in that context? Yeah.
Okay, yes. Okay, through NCAP, we have been working with Western Cape and Central Greece, focused on lack of water. As I told before, for Catalonia, the lack of water is the most important impact. And so, okay, sorry. Okay, so through NCAP, we have been working with Western Cape and Central Greece, focused on lack of water and its impact on ecosystem and biodiversity, on wetlands and also estuaries, and we have been enjoying a lot our technical teams. And in NCAP, we call this kind of project mini sprint. And in this context, we have been doing 2 separated projects on droughts and improving water quality in estuaries. To work in a common way to an alliance, also NCAP maybe permit, it's incredible because we are using several different ways to arrive to a solution, and we are sharing a lot of information with the same situation as the region of Mediterranean, no? Because we are the same and we have the same impacts. So we have been doing 2 separated projects on drought and also on improving water quality in estuaries. And the project of Catalonia serves to Western Cape and also Central Greece, and the project of Western Cape serves us. And in relation to heat waves, that we have had 1,000 deaths in Barcelona last summer. Barcelona has been the European city that has had more deaths of all Europe. So for us, heat waves are very, very important. So we are working on it, and we are looking also to NCAP members. And we know that Santiago de Chile is working a lot and in a very effective way, not only in tools as very smart alerts and also urbanism projects, also in governance. And we have been talking to Santiago de Chile, also a member of NCAP, and we hope that we are going to work together in this thing. So for us, NCAP is an incredible platform to work climate issues.
Yeah, thanks. And just on the heat conversation, our partners from Santiago de Chile couldn't be on the panel today, but they're actually piloting a whole new baseline monitoring system and early warning system that has as much to do with the communications and outreach challenges as it does with actual technical solutions to cooling public spaces and private buildings as well. Yeah, Kim, same question to you. How is the work that you're doing in New South Wales enhanced by a partnership like MCAP, and how do you think about scaling and learning from others?
I think 2 areas in particular that come to mind. One is on the NARCLIN model that I mentioned previously. When my science team actually attended the MCAP convening in South Africa last year and really learning a lot of what everyone else around the world is doing. They were really keen to make that a world-leading model. It's public as well. Anyone can have a look at it. But I think the key is just trying to learn from each other so that each step that we're all taking is just that one step further for everyone. And I know a lot of that learning fed into that, but also seeing in South Africa, it was also the way that there was a lot of deliberate, intentional collaboration with local people and with broad base of community. We're doing a lot in engaging with our Aboriginal community and especially their knowledge around caring for country. I mean, they've been caring for our country for 60,000 years. They know a lot. And it wasn't that long ago, really, that we finally woke up and realized we've got a lot to learn. And there's been a lot more deliberate engagement, and I think we learned some of that from you as well, and we're really trying to focus on that. You'll see some of that in the video a bit later that I can tell you more about.
Thank you. For us, it's also, like Solange had mentioned earlier, the projects in which we're collaborating. But definitely for us, in terms of our data, in terms of what's the correct data to collect and the technologies that's available, that's a major gap for us in the Western Cape. And we definitely stand to learn quite a lot from that. And we're willing also to share in terms of the partnership some of the successes we've had. So particularly with ecological infrastructure and the removal of invasive alien plants, that partnerships with water management institutions, that has been very successful for us. And having that public-private partnership where you have the institutions, you have a pricing strategy where they are contributing as well. So they're contributing to managing the resource and also ensuring that ecological infrastructure investment is being reinvested. So that's definitely what we'd be able to share, but we definitely have lots to learn in terms of technology and other data sources. I think that is critical for us. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And we have time for another question. So, and I also think we might have time for some questions from the audience as well. So start thinking about if you have any specific questions for these three panelists. But to kind of continue on this conversation, I'm curious about what the biggest hurdles to implementation are that you all are facing. Is it funding? Is it the regulatory or the policy structures that allow you to do some things but not other things? Is it something else, lack of understanding of the community, of what the priorities are? I'm curious, you know, why can't you just snap your fingers and make all these incredible things happen? What's getting in the way? Do you want to, anyone can take that, but if you want to start?
Okay, thank you. Yes, in Catalonia, we have, I think, that two challenges in front. One is financing, always. For example, through NCAP mini-sprint and through NCAP funding that you get for us. We have done a very nice project, very interesting science, and we have infrastructure designed to prevent salty water intrusion in our wetlands. Very, very nice, and we are very happy, but we need, as a result of the project, we need more than 400,000 euros to build the gates of the project. So financing is always a challenge. But also in Catalonia, we have other challenges regarding to society, because maybe we are not communicating very well our intentions on climate change and our needs. So in Catalonia we have oppositions very often to facilities and infrastructures we have to build for climate change. So for me, the most important, not barriers, but challenge are financing as always and communication issues.
I think I definitely agree with finance. I think we're in a fortunate position where we've got a lot of bipartisan support from both sides of government. So there's quite a lot of policy we can get through, and there's quite a lot that's already been adopted. So we've got the frameworks there, but to be able to drive them forward, we need funding for some things, and that's always a challenge. So we need to keep working on that. But I think we're trying to look at how we can spin things a little bit differently. So almost, I talk about, like years ago, we wouldn't fund preventative healthcare. We'd just fund the outcome. It's almost the same. So our latest intergenerational report that was developed by our Treasury, which is quite handy, estimates that in the by 2060, I think it is, our cost of disasters will be about $17 billion a year. And so we're trying to turn that back on them, because Treasury will need to agree with us. So like, if we fund this now, we bring that cost down. And so trying to sort of change the conversation a little bit.
Thank you. From our side, let me just rather focus on one of the positives is that we do have leadership buy-in. So at a political level, we have the buy-in. So we've got our premier who's established a energy and water council. So dealing with the risks associated with these challenges. At the same time, at the provincial level, water is registered on its risk register. So immediately that makes it makes it a priority. So although it's a priority, the major challenge is funding. Funding. And at the same time, it's capacity for us. So being a government, there's lots of capacity challenges. And of course, the entire operations of government in terms of how it works. We've got great partnerships, and that is one of the things that has benefited us. So with limited funding, we were able to implement because of the private, the industry willing to invest as well. But that can just take you that far. And we definitely require the community capacity building. That is definitely an unequal in our society. So that seems to be a challenge for us in terms of commercial farming versus small-scale subsistence farming. So that is a big distinction. Thanks.
No, it is. We had the privilege of spending time with your premier, Alan Windy, from the Western Cape. He had us to the official residence, the full delegation of MCAP members. And I can say he's one of the good ones. I can say this honestly. He's truly a political champion for the work that you're doing and your government partners are doing. So that's always helpful. And it is such a challenge to, when you have different populations that have different discrete needs, where housing, food, basic needs aren't always being met. How do you get these communities to understand, recognize, and prioritize a challenge that can feel very abstract until it's a crisis? And so it's one thing to say, oh, it could get bad, we need to act now. But then once you have the crisis, it's kind of too late to get ahead of it. So it's a real challenge that I think we all face. I want to turn it to the audience and see if we have any questions on the unique role of regional governments, on what it means to take theory into practice and climate adaptation. Anyone have any questions for the group? No? Do you guys have questions for each other? I have another question, but I've been talking a lot. Yes?
Hopefully you can hear. It's a tough question. How do you navigate political change? So, meaning you have to think long term. We live in democracies where change is normal. So what is your experience?
Thank you. Some of us live in democracies. I'm not sure I do. I'm from the USA. Yes, Ansoles, how do we manage transitions? And how do you institutionalize this work? Because things are bumpy, and we need to kind of have a focused vision, and we need to keep moving, even though it's a windy road. Yeah.
Well, MCAP is very young, so we don't have enough time to assess this. But in Catalonia, we are in another alliance, and for example, we are in the 4 motors of Europe. I don't know if you know this alliance. We are only 4 regions, and we have had several changes of political governors, and so finally, for us, for example, this alliance as MCAP is very, very important because we are doing a really good job regarding industry, environmental issues, and everything. So if we detect a problem, one of the motors, or maybe from 2 or 3 motors, we talk to our international departments and we ask for help because we want to maintain the alliance, and maybe we think that using diplomacy, finally we can find the ways to maintain the alliance.
For us, I think, as I said, we've been fortunate that it's been bipartisan. So it was actually the previous government who put in a lot of our policies and legislated our net zero targets. And because it had bipartisan support there, the current government has continued and actually is now accelerating because they want to show why they're doing something even better. So we're trying to live this moment and do as much as we can. But to the extent possible, we're trying to get things into legislation so they're hard to undo. We've legislated our targets, we've legislated our green bank that Paul leads over there, so we're trying to lock things in as much as we can. But at the same time, we're trying to also use any opportunity to educate the opposition, so whenever that's coming through Parliament, so that hopefully we can get them on board. But it's really hard, and I find it's particularly hard on our teams if they're working on something they're very passionate about and it changes all of a sudden. So it's, I think when we get the right ingredients, we try to move fast.
The Western Cape, for us, we've had quite, for the last 20 years, political stability. So unlike the other 9 regions within the country, we have had one political party for the last 20 years. So that has been relatively stable. But it is quite challenging navigating that, because I've been in that space where we did have a transition, and it's challenging to say the least. For us, one of the major ways of combating that is the fact that we have very strong organized agriculture as our partners. And the fact that agriculture contributes significantly to the GDP of the province, the number of jobs, it becomes a critical sector to be reckoned with. And also in terms of the exports, we carry about 55% of the national export just in the province. So immediately it makes it very difficult to come and intervene in existing work that has been well established. And of course, if it's been established and enforced with these kind of partnerships, I anticipate that it will be difficult.
Yeah, thank you. Great question, and I'll go to you, but just one comment, which is when we set up the partnership, we explicitly wanted the commitment of governments, not just a single actor within the government. So we had a formal charter that was adopted and signed on behalf of governments, and we actually had a big transition with the government of Catalonia in our first year, and I'm very delighted to say that the partnership survived that transition. And it's Catalonia continues to be a champion of this work, and I think it's because we did that. It took about 6 months to really build that commitment within each of the governments. I'm certain people will drop out. I'm certain we won't have the same levels of commitment through every administration, but we've created something that gives government employees and political leaders something to point to and say, we're committed to this and this is important. I think it helps that we're focused in regions, Mediterranean region specifically, where climate is an existential threat. Mediterranean regions are population centers. The climate is lovely and has been for millennia. It's where food gets produced. It's centers of tourism. It's centers of all kinds of economy and innovation. And so there's so much at stake that I think it's a compelling case when you make it to say, hey, this is worth saving. We need to act to make sure that this place can still be here in a generation or two, and it can still be delivering the same wonderful contributions to society. So don't want to talk too long, but I think it is part of the magic of focusing on bioregions as an entity for convening. To Kim's point, it wasn't just, oh, we go to South Africa and we're meeting with people all over the world. We're meeting with people that have the exact same problems with us. Maybe not the same solutions, maybe not the same demography, maybe not the same resources, but we're all facing the same thing. And so it's a very curated network of folks that have common challenges and common goals. And I think all that helps weather the political transitions. We'll go to you now.
Sure. Thanks. I'm Rick Fox. Till a few months ago, I was the bioeconomy coordinator for the U.S. Department of Agriculture. I'm not anymore. Although I will start teaching a course on forest bioeconomy at University of California at Berkeley in January, and so my question is in that direction. So expanding markets for woody biomass is something we all like to talk about for reducing wildfire risk. At least in California we do, and I think in your regions as well. What I've heard and understand is that there's a gap in our ability to communicate or even forecast how woody biomass removals will make forests more resilient to the fire. We know that perhaps on a silvicultural level, but actually sort of forecasting the outcomes is thought to be an area that needs more research, especially, there's the bioeconomy challenge being launched here at COP30 and initiatives for promoting timber construction. And so if we're going to increase bioeconomy activity with woody biomass, we're going to need to explain how this is helping reduce wildfire risk. So my question is, in your regions, how would you characterize the state of research and knowledge from your governmental perspective? Do you have the tools and the knowledge that you need in order to sort of set out on an initiative like that? And if there are folks working on it in your regions, I'd love to touch base with you later and connect with them. So I think in Catalonia there are, and I think in South Africa there are as well. So, and I'm sure there are in Australia. So that's my question.
A great question. Did you guys all hear the question? And I'll just note that there's a few different dimensions to the question. There's the kind of management challenge of year over year having to manage all this material and continue to make the case that this needs. And then there's a capacity problem linked to that, which is you need the people that can do the work. And then you're putting another question on the table, which is, are there other economic drivers that can actually facilitate this, and can it actually generate new economic opportunities for places? So take any pieces of that, or kind of how are you guys approaching the management of all this material that has to be, removed and processed?
Okay. Yes, first of all, I want to share with you, sure that you know that Mediterranean forests are not very profitable, so are not very, reliable. When you do a forest work and you after sell the wood, the prices of the wood don't compensate the forest works. So in most cases in Catalonia, and I think that in Mediterranean regions, in most Mediterranean regions, yes, maybe in Catalonia, not in Pyrenees, because it's a very big mountain and we have another weather, another climate, more, cold, but in the big part of Catalonia it's like this. So for us it's a challenge. And again, with Western Cape, we have been talking about a mechanism that we have in Catalonia to convert systemic, services that forests give us into credits. And we have to work with the Office on Climate Change on Western Cape and we are very, we have do forest management in more than 1,000 hectares, and we are selling our climate credits to companies, and companies of Catalonia are paying our forest management. And we are sharing this with Western Cape, that we know that they are also interested in it.
Can I add one thing, which is in Catalonia, we had our first annual convening in 2024. It was that, feels like a long time ago. Maybe 2023, 2024. But the one of the site visits we went on was a natural areas that's managed by the Catalonian government, and they started leasing the land to local shepherds that had goats and I think sheep, and they would actually use the land for grazing, which was a benefit for the shepherds. And of course, it was clearing out all the scrubby underbrush. So it was kind of a public-private partnership that was working out pretty well. And I think that was a cork forest. I think it was cork trees. But just another idea. Yep.
I think this is a live conversation in New South Wales at the moment. I guess two angles from it. At the moment, we've just recently actually declared a new Great Koala National Park. Koalas are under threat from climate change. And we've declared a new area, and some of that area was used for logging. And so the industry, there's very different opinions, I guess, as to whether that was a good idea or not. So it's a live conversation at the moment. But shortly we will be watching a video of some work that we've been doing with our Aboriginal people and understanding their cultural burning and how they go about that and to use it to regenerate the forests rather than, or the bush, as we would say. And to do it in a way that actually helps to regenerate the right plant life but removes what we don't want there. So yeah, hopefully the video might give you a little bit of what we're looking at the moment.
For us, we've got abandoned forest areas. The major challenge with that is the fact that it belongs to national government. And that makes it very challenging because that has been completely abandoned, and it's been a nightmare for us to get national government to just be part of the conversation and sit down. With one of the removal of invasive alien plants, because that is a big challenge and adds to the fuel for fires, that we've managed to one, use it for biochar, biofuel. So we've got industry removing it basically free of charge. So there's no additional cost to us, but the industry, the biochar industry, of course, they're benefiting. And then firewood, that is a big industry, a secondary industry that we've also seen. And we haven't really explored the economics of it, but there's lots of opportunity in that. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And I think we'll call it there for the panel portion. And I just want to ask all of you to thank our panelists for their contributions. Thank you very much. That was very helpful. And Kim mentioned a video. We're gonna watch a 5-minute video that will illustrate some of the solutions that we've been talking about tonight on wildland management, especially using cultural burning practice and Aboriginal practice. So we'll pivot to that, and then we'll have some closing words from our friends from Regions 4. So we can take our seats and watch the video.
further, I'll get back to you if I need something far concrete.
The team now has to adjust their strategies based on the new information.
It's say, for instance, red means it's a very sensitive site.
That's perfect. So it's the first triage of risk.
I felt very intimidating because I haven't done anything like this before. It's sitting there thinking, well, this could be a real situation one day. We need to really think of strategies with the RFS, National Parks, Forestry, and the original land councils on how to protect these sites in case of another 1920 fires.
After 2 intense days learning how to work with an incident management team to save the heritage, all participants look forward to a future where Aboriginal sites matter during major fires.
I always say it's always about confidence and building those bridges, and this was one of those days, being able to come to the control room and say in our spaces, words don't even have what I feel in my heart to know that this is
So I feel like I'll be more prepared for questions that I need to ask that I can help guide the decision-making processes for people.
I generally do think that the last 2 days will change the way we manage fire, particularly around cultural significance and sensitive sites throughout our
Calma.
I'm really humbled and pleased to say that we such a short time and totally exceeded any expectation that I had.
I just can't believe how,
¿Qué necesitas? No, ahora no van a hablar.
how quickly they
A las
picked
5.
up the language used in the emergency room, how quickly they understood, right, if I need to be effective with what I'm saying,
Lo
like,
devuelvo.
that was, they were incredible. What I hope will happen is that always seen as something new, especially just the way business is done in an emergency room. But the power that this will bring, especially to Aboriginal community, for them to know this is a place my voice is heard. That's gold matter. What we've done today, moving the level out across the state.
Good afternoon. Boa tarde, buenas tardes. What an inspiring conversation. We've heard how regions across the Mediterranean Climate Action Partnership, Catalonia, Western Cape, New South Wales, are facing the same climate extremes, heat waves, wildfires, droughts. But I think what really stood out here today is the shared determination to really act, to adapt, to protect people and ecosystems. And we've heard how subnational governments are showing what this means in practice, restoring forests, managing water scarcity across competing demands, and placing justice and nature at the heart of adaptation efforts, engaging communities, engaging Aborigines populations, and acting where impacts are felt first and where results are most immediate. A bioregion is not defined by political or administrative borders, but by the land, water, and the communities that live, that depend on them. Coastlines, front lines, and watersheds remind us that the challenges cross boundaries, and so must our solutions. And I think this is why bioregions also matter so much at this COP30, because they offer a framework to act at the right scale that is large enough to restore ecosystems and economies, but yes, close enough to the people and to the cultures that make resilience real. So I think that's why MCAP is so relevant, because it creates a space for regions to share, to learn from each other, to align strategies, expertise. You were mentioning Catalonia, Western Cape, working around water scarcity, or with Santiago de Chile around heat waves, and mobilizing resources, speaking with one voice. It embodies this mutirao, the famous mutirao spirit across COP, right? Working together, collective collaboration for the common good. And I think it really shows that when regions unite, we can truly move from ambition to implementation. We've discussed also many of the challenges, financing, the usual suspect of all the challenges, but also how to institutionalize these changes, right? How to make them be owned by different political administrations, including legislating, including educating the opposition, to sustain these changes in the long term, or engaging critical sectors like agriculture, or even engaging national government when competences like forest is under their competence. So I think it was also quite interesting to hear how regional cooperation is also recognizing that bioregional cooperation is also recognizing that identity, well-being, economies, and cultures are really inseparable from the ecosystems, right, that sustain them. And it's really inspiring to see MCAP embody this and build bridges across regions. So at Regions 4, we're really proud to support this partnership, and we are convinced also that what is being developed here can be a true inspiration for other bioregions in the world. So that's why I want to echo the invitation to come and join us the 18 November, the official UNFCCC side event on bioregional cooperation, so really opening the conversation to other bioregions. It will be at 1:15. So do come and join us, and we look forward to working together with you so that the Mediterranean really stands as a living example of resilience for the world. Thank you.